getting into the high teens or low 20s. More fine weather on Friday, but turning changeable by the bank holiday weekend. Bye-bye.
Warm and cosy, with a chance of zero visibility. Boxed Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
It's the final week to see how you could win our biggest prize of the year so far. You could be driving away with your very own 4-berth camper van. This Benny Van 122 could give you the perfect getaway this year. We'll also give you an incredible £25,000 in tax-free cash. Lines close on the 1st of May, so make sure you don't miss out. For another chance to win a camper van and cash, text prize to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message, or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB20 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 1st of May. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk then?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
In fact, has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up?
About 10. So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m, only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's Political Podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's Political Podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
5 hosts, 5 opinions, 5 fearless debates, 5 unfiltered takes on the day's news.
5 reasons not to be anywhere else on Saturday night.
This is the Saturday 5. You got me. You got me good there. Britain's biggest Saturday night TV show.
It's not a bad brand.
Yeah. Uncensored.
Very, very racy tonight.
On the unpredictable.
What does she say? Can you translate it for us?
And always entertaining.
And how can a country go from being led by William Wallace Saturday nights from 6 p.m. only on GB News, the People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
You're going to want to stay tuned, trust me.
As soon as it hits 11 and the headlines come in,
The Late Edition brings you the breaking news from all the front pages.
because the news is going to happen.
So get a head start today.
Patrick Christys tonight, late edition.
Alex Armstrong tonight, Late Edition. From 11 o'clock every night.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
The GB News audience is different, it's unique, because they see through the nonsense.
We want to debate with each other, we want to listen and maybe learn.
We have a chat. That's what we do. We try and have a chat.
They'll watch my programme while they're eating their tea, they'll watch breakfast while they're busy getting their kids ready for school.
We want to hear what matters to you, what is news for you.
And what's brought you out here today?
What are the biggest issues affecting this particular area?
The audience are the best thing about GB News.
Their friends, their family.
They're people who need to have their voices heard.
They're passionate about the channel, they're passionate about what they believe in.
The one thing about GB News is you get a chance to speak.
Talk to me about why so many people have gathered here today.
Do you want to say something back in return? The GB News audience is what makes GB News special.
It's incredible to see.
They shape our programmes, they shape our output, and they shape our channel.
That's what makes us the fearless champion of Britain. It's 9 p.m. I'm Patrick Christys. Tonight.
Thank you. The ayes to the right, 223. The noes to the left, 335. The noes have it, the noes have it. Unlock.
Gutless, cowardly Labour MPs save Starmer's skin, but...
We are in an awkward position.
I am yet to be convinced that he has definitively not misled the House.
When you're under attack like this, you don't run from the attack.
Like the public, I feel let down, disappointed, and I am angry.
At least some of his own MPs slagged him off and...
I'd rather be on the side of Peter Mandelson, of convicted paedophile Jeffrey Epstein, of Morgan McSweeney and Matthew Doyle, on the side of the man who sacked Sir Chris Wormald, sacked Sir Ollie Robbins, Sue Gray. Is that what they came to Parliament for?
The rest of them was skewered by Kemi. Plus...
Do you think the Prime Minister's statement that full due process was followed is a fair description of what happened in Mandelson's case?
I'm going to dodge. I'm really sorry.
He was basically thrown under the bus by another civil servant. And in breaking news in the past hour, the King has addressed Congress.
In both of our countries, it is the very fact of our vibrant, diverse and free societies that gives us our collective strength.
What do you make of that? Was it too political? The diversity is our greatest strength line, mentioning the environment, thinly veiled digs at Trump, words matter, international law. Is that straight from Keir Starmer's pen? Was it the right move, do you think, to go to Congress and say that stuff? He did get 13 standing ovations, though, so he was doing something right. We're going to have the full debrief from our man on the ground in the States very, very shortly. Also tonight... Ex-England football captain John Terry backs Rupert Lowe, saying no benefits for migrants and... Iran's embassy in Britain calls for Iranians to die for the regime. Not in the war latest. Plus, a jihadi was recalled to prison for possessing a book on 9/11 and apparently watching porn. On my panel tonight, we have got Tory MP Esther McVeigh, GB News contributor Will Kingston, and GB News senior political commentator waving ferociously there, Nigel Nelson. And what on earth is going on here?
Charles, look, young Charles. He's so cute.
Get ready, Britain. Here we go. Britain will remember the Labour cowards. Next.
Very good evening to you from the newsroom. More from Patrick shortly. First, though, the top story tonight at 9. King Charles has delivered a historic address to the US Congress, becoming only the second British monarch to do so. Calling it a great honour, the King said the speech comes at a time of great conflict across the world, but he used the moment to also underline the strength of the UK-US relationship. The assembled Washington politicians laughed at jokes and gave him multiple standing ovations, even when quoting President Donald Trump regarding the bond between our two nations. He also told lawmakers the partnership between the UK and the US is more important today than has ever been, warning, though, that global challenges are too great for any one country to face alone. The address comes during a high-stakes 4-day state visit aimed at reinforcing ties and, of course, at a time of political tension between the two allies. Here, Labour MPs have blocked a move to investigate the Prime Minister's handling of Lord Mandelson's appointment. The Commons tonight rejected the proposal by 335 votes to 223. That's a majority of 112. It means Sir Keir will not be referred to the Privileges Committee. The motion, led by Kemi Badenoch, had claimed the Prime Minister misled Parliament over Mandelson's vetting. Opposition MPs argued his previous statements to the Commons should now be corrected, following evidence that raised questions about the process. But ministers rejected that, insisting the Prime Minister acted properly and maintaining he was not informed of any failed vetting clearance at the time. And with Labour's large majority holding, there was no significant rebellion tonight. Well, despite MPs rejecting that inquiry into Sir Keir Starmer, the pressure around the Mandelson row is still continuing. Ahead of the vote, key figures were facing questions from MPs today. Among them, Morgan McSweeney, who told the Foreign Affairs Committee he made a serious mistake in advising Sir Keir Starmer to appoint Lord Mandelson as ambassador. The Prime Minister's former Chief of Staff said he takes full responsibility for that decision after stepping down earlier this year. But he did deny placing any improper pressure on officials and insisted he never asked for vetting to be cleared at all costs. He went on to describe Lord Mandelson as a confidant but not a mentor, and said discovering more about the links he had to Jeffrey Epstein felt like a knife through his soul.
I saw the pictures when I saw the Bloomberg questions in September 2025. I have to say it was like a knife through my soul. I did not expect that level of connection that he was talking about there.
And counter-terror police are investigating a suspected arson attack on a memorial wall in North London. The fire broke out in the early hours of Monday in Golders Green, close to a Jewish centre. The wall commemorates Iranians killed during protests against the regime. Officers say the investigation is being led by counter-terror specialists, although it's not currently being treated as a terror incident. No arrests have been made at this stage. Those are the 9 o'clock headlines. More news at 10 now, though. Let's get back to Patrick.
OK, good evening, everybody. Now, very shortly, we're going to get that reaction and the debrief from King Charles's speech to Congress. Some very controversial points in there. Was it too political, really? Kind of written by the pen of Keir Starmer. Diversity is our greatest strength. The environment, words matter. International law, support for Ukraine. All of that stuff. We're going to be talking about it with Ben Leo in a few minutes' time. But before that, the British public will remember the cowardice of hundreds of Labour MPs today. They voted on whether or not Keir Starmer should be investigated by the Privileges Committee over claims he misled the House of Commons. Now, here is the result of that vote.
The ayes to the right, 223. The noes to the left, 335. The noes have it, unlocked.
So only 15 Labour MPs said he should face investigation. I think 50 abstained. The reason why he was accused of misleading the House are as follows. Saying full due process was followed in the appointment of Peter Mandelson.
Mr. Speaker, as she and the House would expect, full due process was followed during this appointment, as it is with all ambassadors.
Well, that seems to be utter rubbish, really. It seems to have been blown out of the water by Sir Philip Barton, who's the former permanent Under-Secretary to the Foreign Office.
Do you think the Prime Minister's statement that full due process was followed is a fair description of what happened in Mandelson's case?
I'm going to dodge. I'm really sorry.
Not great, is it? Starmer was also accused of misleading MPs about there not being any pressure on civil servants to approve Mandelson.
No pressure existed whatsoever in relation to this case. What is unacceptable is that the recommendation of UKSV was not given to me before Mandelson took up his post.
Well, Starmer's accused there of misrepresenting what Ollie Robbins actually said, and here is what he actually said.
Throughout January, honestly, my office, the Foreign Secretary's office, were under constant pressure.
Well, there you go. And then again today by Sir Philip Barton.
Was there pressure? Absolutely. And I've described it, and I also have seen what the Foreign Office said to you last night, and recognise what is said in that letter about the pressure to get it done, i.e. DV clearance, by a particular timescale. Because as I said to you earlier, I don't think anyone could have been any doubt in the department working on this that there was pressure to get everything done as quickly as possible.
Well, there you go. Some Labour MPs did show a bit of bottle.
This motion is designed to embarrass the Prime Minister and put Labour MPs in an awkward position. And not for the first time as Labour MPs, we are in an awkward position.
Unfortunately, I am yet to be convinced that he has definitively not misled the House, even if inadvertently.
When you're under attack like this, you don't run from the attack, You run to face it, and you run to face it with confidence.
I have watched this whole sorry saga play out for weeks now. Like the public, I feel let down, disappointed, and I am angry.
Why didn't the rest of the Labour MPs just vote with their conscience? So what if they lose the whip? Starmer will probably be gone in a couple of weeks anyway. I mean, he's already thrown loads of them under the bus already. Yeah, he won the second largest Labour majority in history. He's U-turned about 18 times. It might be more than that. He's removed the whip from loads of them over policies like the two-child benefit cap, U-turned on it. The farmers' death tax, U-turned on it. Welfare reform, U-turned on it. You know, why are they standing up for a bloke who would sell them down the river just to save his own skin? And actually, one bloke that he took the whip off just a couple of weeks ago is the now former Labour MP, now, of course, independent, Carl Turner, who was stripped of the whip for, well, I mean, they said here it was a pattern of uncollegiate behaviour and public criticism of the party, but I think in part, really, for wanting to protect jury trials. So I'm very pleased to say that Mr Turner, the MP for Kingston upon Hull East, joins us now. Fantastic to have you. Thank you very much. Carl, great to see you. Look, what do you make of, I suppose, the accusation that I'm putting out there anyway, that we saw quite a lot of cowardice from Labour MPs tonight?
Well, good evening, Patrick. Well, that's part of the problem, isn't it? Because what's happened is, if it was a stunt by the opposition, it was a stunt with a trick, and the trick was to get Labour MPs to clamber into the lobby and vote to cover up what is essentially an accusation that the Prime Minister misled Parliament. I don't think he did deliberately lie. I've said that in the chamber today. But what I do think is there was a prima facie case for the Prime Minister to face the Privileges Committee for them to ask questions. And he ought not to be worried. Look, you just mentioned in your lead-up the suspension for me. I was suspended, plain and simple, for opposing the government on the ludicrous idea of curtailing jury trials. I think it's balmy. That's the reality of it. But this wasn't a single judge trial, which is what the Prime Minister tells us he wants to bring into England and Wales. This was a jury of cross-party MPs, the majority of which were Labour MPs. It was daft for the Prime Minister to avoid that scrutiny. He should have referred himself to the committee and we wouldn't be in this mess now.
Well, do you think he's got something to hide, though? Because that's the only logical reason I can think of why he'd want to swerve it.
The argument from the whips, I think, they've not spoken to me because they just ignore me nowadays. But the argument the whips are putting about that this inquiry would last for months, I don't agree with that. There'd have been a couple of evidence sessions. It could have been in camera. The procedure of the House allow it to be in private. If, in fact, there's anything in there which might be a problem in terms of the national security, it could have been done swiftly. This argument that it was going to last forever is a nonsense. And the reality is, we are now accused, or those of us who didn't vote with the opposition and the motion for that scrutiny, those people are now going to be accused by our opponents of trying to cover up for the Prime Minister. And I think that is an absolute disgrace.
Right. And you, by the way, worth noting, you actually voted for him to have faced that Privileges Committee this evening, didn't you? So that's definitely relevant here. Can I just put to you, it's a clip by Stephen Flynn, he's of the SNP. This is what he said in Parliament earlier. I want to get your response to this.
He knew that Peter Mandelson had maintained a relationship with the world's most notorious paedophile and child trafficker, Jeffrey Epstein. And when he stood up at that dispatch box and said he knew, he finally admitted that he knew. That should have been it. That should have been curtains for him.
And that's it, Mr Turner, I think, isn't it? For all these technicalities about misleading the House or who told him what when, I mean, it's the actual fundamental point that he's admitted to making a bad call in allowing Mandelson to be the US ambassador and, in the process, putting national security at risk. That on its own is a resigning matter, isn't it?
Well, look, I think it was in the public domain that Mandelson had maintained a relationship with Jeffrey Epstein post his conviction. I think what Mandelson was saying at the time was that he was persuaded by lawyers of Epstein that he'd done some sort of a plea bargain and that he was not really culpable for the offences that he was alleged to have committed. I think that was the argument that was put forward. Well, the fact that I know about the situation tells me that the Prime Minister must have known. There's advisors all over the place in Downing Street. Forgive me, I think the dog's barking, and I suspect your listeners, sorry, your viewers are picking it up, so I apologise. But look, I think those things, there's no reason why the Prime Minister shouldn't have known.
Oh, well, that was all right. By the way, we're a dog-friendly zone here. We couldn't hear him or her anyway, so don't worry. That was great, fantastic.
He's now in the picture.
Lovely stuff, exactly. He's a good attention-seeking dog. We love to see it. Look, just a final one for you here. There was an interview with Starmer yesterday, during which he said that his wife was his rock and she's telling him to carry on, right? If you were Keir Starmer's wife, what would you be telling him?
Well, look, I've got to tell you, I'm not saying the PM should step down as leader and Prime Minister. I think the country are fed up of the shenanigans of Prime Ministers having to go every 5 minutes. But I accept, Patrick, that the Prime Minister's position is becoming untenable now. That's the problem we're in. And look, the real situation is this. You look round the Parliamentary Labour Party, there's nobody there to sort of step up and say, I'll do the job. And that's what's keeping Keir Starmer in the position as we speak, I think. I was in the Prime Minister's private quarters in Downing Street not so many months ago. I met his missus. She's a very nice woman, you know, and I think, frankly, they have a very strong bond. I know Keir Starmer well. He was a friend, I hope he still is a friend of mine. I criticise him on policy, but I don't think we've fallen out on a personal level. And I think she's very supportive of him. That's the truth of it. And I suspect she is encouraging him to stay on if that's what he wants to do. But the reality is we've got the elections coming up in not so many days from now. What is it, 10 days or something? And the proof will be in the pudding. In other words, let's see how many council seats we lose. How well will we do in Scotland and Wales? That's the test, I think, for the PM now. It didn't need to be like this, but I'm afraid to tell you, we're getting to the scenario whereby his days are numbered. And that's just the truth. I'm not happy about it, but it just happens to be a political fact.
Well, Carl, I appreciate you coming on, really do appreciate you coming on. I'd love to have you back on again, and I appreciate your candour. I know my viewers and listeners will as well. We also appreciate your dog, so thank you very much. Take care, mate. All
Charlie the dog.
All right. Take care. Right, OK. Well, that was the now independent MP, Carl Turner. And I think he said Charlie the dog as well. I can't quite put the name. But anyway, right, OK. So let's just get straight into the panel here. We're going to have to be relatively snappy. Will, I mean, look, the Labour MPs tonight had the opportunity, didn't they, to vote for their man to actually go and face some scrutiny, and they were cowards about it.
Yeah, they were cowards, but they were also politically stupid, Patrick. Even if they did have the whip taken off them, I imagine they would have got it back when a new leader emerged, which is soon coming. They are going to, at the next election, have to run as effectively independent candidates. All Labor MPs will. The Labor brand is that toxic. Wait for the flyers. You will see the smallest possible Labor logo with a very big last name. That's what it'll look like. And what would have been the best thing for them is to say, I took a stand on principle against that awful Keir Starmer. I'm a good local candidate. There's an example. They missed that opportunity.
Yeah, and Boris Johnson didn't even whip his MPs on the similar thing with the privileges.
That's right, because it's a matter for the House. It isn't political. It was, did you mislead the House? How is that dealt with properly? Which is the committee that does it? It's the Privileges Committee. And as Carl Turner said there, it's actually Labour-run, Labour-led. So he would have won that. Were the MPs cowardly? Yes, they were. They will come to regret that decision. They should never have been whipped. They were put in a very bad position by the whips, by the Prime Minister. And, you know, the MPs, Labour MPs who did stand up and said, this looks so bad because it looks like we're complicit in the cover-up for Keir Starmer, and that's what they'll be remembered for.
Look, Carl Turner there, who in that did say he still classes the Prime Minister as a friend. There's nothing personal about this. He disagrees with him on policy. But he in a roundabout way, says he doesn't really trust the guy. You got Labour MPs who all stood on a ticket of honesty, decency and integrity, and yet they've voted for their leader to swerve scrutiny on this. You know, if you've got what seems to be good people like Carl Turner there is, you know, saying essentially you can't trust a word that the Prime Minister's saying, then how can the British public?
Well, I mean, first of all,
Boris Johnson didn't actually ever have a vote, although Esther and Tory MPs were offered a free vote should it have come to that.
Decided unanimously.
That's right.
That he should go forward to.
So it went on the nod.
So there wasn't a vote because unanimously we decided
but the point is you would have had a free vote. That's where I think Keir Starmer made a mistake here.
Yeah.
What he should have done was to offer a free vote to his MPs. As Esther just said, it's a parliamentary disciplinary matter. It's not a government matter. Therefore, a free vote is more appropriate. I don't know why he didn't do that. Had he done so, he'd have won easily. You wouldn't have needed, so we wouldn't be discussing the fact whether people are cowards, whether they're forced into it, whether Keir Starmer doesn't trust his own MPs. None of that would happen because they would have had the free vote to go ahead. As far as referring himself to the Privileges Committee, why would you, if you haven't committed a crime, why would you go to court? That as far as Keir Starmer is concerned, that he hasn't misled the House. I think if he'd got to Privileges Committee, the whole confusion about due process and whether or not pressure was put on, because everyone has a different definition of
Nigel,
it.
I think why people said he should have referred himself, because the whole of Parliament now is getting bogged down every day with another debate.
But that's because Kemi Badenoch decided to go for a stunt.
No. All of last week, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday was about it. And what they're saying is if he referred himself, then we could stop all of this and get on with running the country. That's why people like Emma Llewellyn said he should refer himself, and Carl.
All right, well, look, obviously at 10 p.m. we're going to be talking a bit more about that very issue as well. A huge day for Keir Starmer, really. And that idea about whether or not really he's behaving like a dictator, whipping his MPs there on what should have been a free vote. It's not the first time he's been accused of being a dictator. We're also obviously going to be talking about the King in Congress. But before that, I need to tell you about the Great British Giveaway. Here's how you can be in it to win it.
There's just 3 days left to see how to win our biggest prize of the year so far, as you can drive away in this brand new Benivan 122 camper van. This brand new 2026 model comfortably sleeps 4 with its pop-up bunks and comes complete with kitchen, bathroom and spacious living area. You can even drive it on your existing driving licence. And that's not all, as you'll also get an incredible £25,000 in tax-free cash to spend on anything you like this year. You have to hurry, as lines close at 4 p.m. on Friday. For another chance to win a camper van and cash, text prize to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message, or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge, or post your name and number to GB20 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 1st of May. The winner may be contacted live after all entry routes are closed. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
All right, well, coming up.
In both of our countries, it is the very fact of our vibrant, diverse and free societies that gives us our collective strength.
Diversity is our greatest strength. The environment, international law, words matter. Was King Charles's speech to Congress too political? And frankly, was it written by Keir Starmer? We're going to go to Ben Leo, our senior US correspondent, very, very shortly. But before that, is former England football captain John Terry right to back Restore's Rupert Lowe and his pledge to block migrants from claiming benefits? That's next.
Britain deserves a newsroom that puts the facts and your voice first.
Well, and that's what you get on GB News. Lively debates, lively conversation.
And we're not afraid to hold power to account.
And each other. So join me, Andrew Pearce.
And me, Miriam Gates, for Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 on GB News.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk now? No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
In fact, has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up?
About 10. So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m. only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's Political Podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's Political Podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
Do you trust what you're being told? Good, because neither do I.
Those are just facts.
I'm Alex Armstrong, and on my show, we'll expose the spin.
Well, I want to answer that, because you didn't let me last time, because you always speak over me.
The broken promises.
To deny that is denying the truth.
And the hypocrisy.
Needs to stop. You think we can allow?
Politics, policy, parliament. Nothing is off limits. No sugarcoating, no fear of offence, just the truth laid bare. Tune in every Saturday and Sunday at 9 p.m. for Alex Armstrong Tonight, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
As soon as it hits 11 and the headlines come in,
Late Edition brings you the breaking news from all the front pages.
because the news is going to happen.
So get a head start today.
Patrick Christys Tonight, Late Edition.
Alex Armstrong Tonight, Late Edition, from 11 o'clock every night.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Akweer, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, though.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Breaking news, live updates, stories that matter.
From the heart of the GB newsroom to every corner of Britain, with our team of dedicated journalists across the UK.
GB News bulletins are there to deliver the latest news that matters to you.
Bulletins on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
In both of our countries, it is the very fact of our vibrant, diverse and free societies that gives us our collective strength.
Well, that was the King in Congress, but was that speech too political? Was it written by Keir Starmer too much? Diversity, greater strength, the environment, all of that stuff. We're going to be analysing that shortly with Ben Leo, but before that, is John Terry, yes, football's John Terry, right, that foreigners should be banned from claiming benefits? It's time for the head-to-head. Well, English footballing legend John Terry certainly thinks that foreigners should be banned from claiming benefits. He was responding to a proposal put forward in the House of Commons yesterday by Restore UK's Rupert Lowe.
Does the Minister agree the solution is really quite straightforward? Ban all foreigners from claiming any benefits, remove from our country those migrants incapable of financially supporting themselves, and hand that money back to tax-paying British men and women who are actually keeping our economy running.
Yes, there you go. Restore Britain, by the way. Sorry. The former England captain appeared to signal his support for the proposal, replying 100% on social media. Back in March, Terry also appeared to back Rupert Lowe's calls to ban the burqa. So tonight I'm asking, is John Terry right? Should foreigners be banned from claiming benefits? Going head-to-head on this are William Yarwood, the campaign's director at the Taxpayers Alliance, and Pablo Ohana, political strategist. Chaps, thank you very, very much. William, I'll start with you. Is John Terry right?
Well, good evening, Patrick. Thanks so much for having me on the show. And yes, Rupert Lowe and John Terry are completely correct. I don't think that Britain's welfare state should be, I think it should be a safety net for people who have contributed to this country, not an international entitlements program. Just to break some of the statistics for you, in total, households containing at least one unemployed foreign national received around 10.6 cents. And I don't think this is a small issue at all. It's a major burden on taxpayers and a serious, serious question of fairness.
All right, well, Pablo, come back to that then.
Listen, it is already the case that immigrants who come here illegally do not get benefits. That's not how our system works, and it's not what anybody is proposing. Rupert Lowe is deliberately incredibly vague here and using language that makes it impossible to understand what he's actually proposing. Because are you talking about illegal immigrations? Okay.
Legal. My understanding is legal immigrants who claim benefits.
But legal immigrants who come to this country and pay taxes, they contribute more than they take out. The vast majority, over 80% of immigrants to this country who work here, come here legally. I'm not talking about illegal immigration. Legal immigration to this country, they contribute way more to our economy than they take out in benefits and things like the NHS and universal credit and that sort of stuff. So if you're talking about illegal immigration, of course, yes, and they can't. That's why they can't claim benefits. Legal migration to this country contributes more than they take out. So where's the benefit in stopping them?
OK, go on. I'll let you come back to that, William, about the amount of legal immigrants who are actually claiming things like universal credit and other forms of benefit.
Sure. I mean, I find this argument whole interesting, is that, again, Rupert Lowe wasn't talking about illegal migrants, he was talking about legal migrants. And actually, this is DWP data. This is not made up out of the blue. I mean, if you want to talk about foreign nationals, paying taxes and contributing, fine, yes, and many indeed do, as do many British citizens. But there is now nearly 1.3 foreign nationals claiming universal credit, and that figure is up 44% in less than 4 years. And in February alone, I believe, as reported in LBC, about 14,451 migrants began claiming universal credit, which works at about just over 470 per day. And my view, Patrick, and I think many of your viewers will think, when British families are facing record high tax rises, their thresholds have been frozen, and they're facing higher bills, and this welfare bill for foreign national keeps going up, they're going to be wondering why on earth they're paying for this, especially considering most British people have consistently voted for political parties that have actually advocated against doing mass immigration. So when they voted against mass immigration time and time again at elections, and then seeing the fact that what immigration has had to this country is costing them more money, they're wondering why they're having to pick up this bill.
Well, I'll put that to you, Pablo. So roughly speaking, 1.3 million foreign nationals, which is 15.2-ish% of all universal credit claimants, are foreign, right? So, like when John Terry or Rupert Lowe say that they shouldn't be getting any benefits, that's fair enough, isn't it?
If we had competent government where people could get into work, the problem here is that so many of these people can't get work. If we had a system where people can get into work, pay taxes, contribute to the system, then we would be able to have an effective system that actually allows people to contribute in that way. Those who are on universal credit right now are in a temporary situation where they don't have any other means of living.
What's stopping their dependents working? Because it's like when they come and they bring their wives over or they bring their relatives over. I mean, that's a choice, isn't it, for them to not work?
But so what would be the alternative? That you split up families?
Do that.
That isn't what our country is. Our country works on a fair system. It's not perfect.
Yeah,
we work on a fair system where if people are fleeing persecution, they come here as a refugee. If they're coming here as an immigrant, then they pay into our system, and that is the only way they can access our benefits. It's as simple as that. Like we can debate the sort of definition of foreigners versus immigrants versus illegal, but the bottom line is that if you don't pay into our system, you can't take out of our system.
Is that true, William?
So the UK is actually slightly more generous than many comparable countries in relation to access to welfare. The United States, most legal immigrants face around 5-year federal ban before accessing major welfare programs, including public services. In Australia, permanent residents can wait up to like 4 to 5 years, and temporary visa holders are pretty much just excluded altogether. And in Germany and across Europe, welfare access is actually tied much more closely to status and contribution. And there's various other examples out there where I think we could be doing better. And I do agree. I think we should have more competent government. And I'll have to give Labour some praise here, that even Labour thinks is the problem, which is why they're extending ILR for indefinite leave to remain, where you can then, of course, claim welfare. They're extending that to 10 years. And I think that's a very sensible and sound proposal, which will save taxpayers money in the long run.
All right, but look, both of you, thank you very much. Good stuff on the head-to-head there. It's William Yarwood there, Campaigns Director at the Taxpayers Alliance. Pablo Ohana, political strategist. OK, coming up, it's emerged today that the terrorist that we stopped from being released was actually recalled to prison a few years ago, previously over fears that he had a secret mobile phone and a 9/11 terror book, as well as apparently watching porn, which I'm not sure where in the Quran it says you can do that, but there you go. More on that shortly. First, though...
In both of our countries, it is the very fact of our vibrant, diverse and free societies that gives us our collective strength.
Well, the King went and did his duty, there's no question about that. But was his speech written really on the advice of the government, too political and bad for Britain? As Keir Starmer shafted the King. That's next.
Be nice to escape the grey.
Clear skies, here we come.
As clear as our travel insurance.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Plenty of fine weather across Europe at the moment. Certainly sunny skies expected in Italy next few days. Very warm in France, but for Iberia, a lot of rain to come. Some heavy downpours across Portugal, central and western parts of Spain on Wednesday. Drier in the east of Spain for Barcelona. Some of that rain, though, reaching western parts of France. And ahead of that, temperatures peaking in the mid to high 20s. Italy seeing sunny skies, but Greece turning a little cooler over the next few days with some showers around.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Hello, very good evening to you. This is your GB News weather forecast from the Met Office. As we go through the next 24 hours, it's going to be mostly dry, a bit chilly tonight, but temperatures are really rising as we go through the day tomorrow. That's because we have a largely settled picture with high pressure firmly in control. Worth noting, though, away from that high pressure, some strong gusty winds towards the south and southwest. They're going to be picking up through the next 24 hours. And also, we will have some bursts of rain as we go overnight across parts of, well, southern coastal areas of Devon and also the tip of Cornwall. Elsewhere, a dry picture, largely clear skies, and it's under those clear skies temperatures are going to drop a little bit lower than last night. As a result, a touch of frost in prone spots can't be ruled out. Also, a few pockets of mist and fog. But once the sun comes up, any mist and fog will quickly clear, as will any low cloud that could develop in a few spots overnight, and temperatures will rise as well. So although it could be a bit chilly first thing, well, quite quickly it's going to feel pleasantly warm in that sunshine. Lots of fine sunny weather across Scotland, Northern Ireland and the bulk of England and Wales all the way through tomorrow. We do just need to watch out for a bit of showery rain pushing into parts of the southwest. It doesn't look like it'll affect many places, but particularly across some parts of Cornwall could just be a bit cloudier and a little bit wet at times. Otherwise, it's almost wall-to-wall blue sky across the bulk of the country, and with all that sunshine, unsurprisingly, it's going to feel pretty warm indeed. Temperatures a bit higher than today, mid to high teens quite widely, low 20s towards the south, though here we do have those strong gusty winds which will make it feel a little bit fresher. On Thursday, there's a bit more cloud, a bit more rain across parts of southwest England, perhaps southwest Wales, and some of that will feed across the Republic of Ireland and later Northern Ireland. Elsewhere, though, another largely sunny day, and temperatures will be even higher than tomorrow, more widely getting into the high teens or low 20s. More fine weather on Friday, but turning changeable by the bank holiday weekend. Bye-bye.
As soon as it hits 11 and the headlines come in,
Late Edition brings you the breaking news from all the front pages.
because the news is going to happen.
So get a head start today.
Patrick Christys tonight, Late Edition.
Alex Armstrong tonight, Late Edition. From 11 o'clock every night.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Breaking news, live updates, stories that matter.
From the heart of the GB newsroom to every corner of Britain, with our team of dedicated journalists across the UK.
GB News bulletins are there to deliver the latest news that matters to you.
Bulletins on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to Patrick Christys tonight, only on GB News. And breaking in the past hour, the King has addressed Congress on the second day of his state visit to America. The speech had been billed as the centrepiece of the whole trip. And it comes at a very tense time in the special relationship. President Trump has repeatedly lambasted Prime Minister Starmer over his response to the Iran war, loads of other things as well, it must be said, energy. In a 20-minute speech, the King called on the US and Britain to come together.
Mr. Speaker, Mr. Vice President, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, America's words carry weight and meaning, as they have since independence. The actions of this great nation matter even more.
That was one of a few, well, seemingly maybe, subtle digs at President Trump in that speech. Of course, the monarch couldn't help but utter his favourite catchphrase.
In both of our countries, it is the very fact of our vibrant, diverse and free societies that gives us our collective strength, including to support victims of some of the ills that so tragically exist in both our societies today.
I wonder how the King often feels about diversity being a strength as he drives down the Edgware Road on his way into Buckingham Palace in London. But I'm joined now by GB News chief US correspondent, Ben Leo. Ben, look, thank you very much. 13 standing ovations for King Charles, so he was definitely doing something right and he did his duty. But what do you make of that speech?
Hello, Patrick. Well, I think most of those standing ovations probably came from the Democrats in the room, to be honest with you. It was a highly political speech talking about the need for protecting NATO, Ukraine, climate change, melting ice caps, rejecting isolationism, talking about the need that the executive here in America needs to have checks on unbalanced power and so on and so on. And also that clip you just played there talking about not just Christianity, but all faiths as well. It seems to be a trademark of the King. So, look, he did well. It was an enthralling speech. I think it went on for a bit longer than 20 minutes, but to say it wasn't political or there weren't sort of undertones of barbs there towards, well, let's just say President Trump and the current administration, I think is for the birds. There certainly were some subtle nods to what's going on in America right now. And if you want sort of verification of that it is indeed Democrats and those of the left of their political persuasion, Alistair Campbell, Tony Blair's former spin doctor of Iraq war fame, he has just posted on X, excellent speech by King Charles. So good to hear the clarion cry for Ukraine, for NATO, for nature and the environment, for democracy and the checks on power. JFK mentioned more times than Trump. Starmer directly quoted. Europe mentioned several times. Vance looked ill. I loved it. Love the confidence in British and European values. So I think it was clear from listening to that speech, Patrick, that it was very political. It was a direct, not an attack, that's the wrong word. It was a direct address to President Trump and the fact that he is rejecting NATO, he's rejecting Europe, he is America first, as his administration puts it, rejecting climate change by pulling out the Paris Accords, by pulling regulations here in the United States on car emissions and so on, allowing regulation to be axed so businesses can go, run free. And indeed, that key line as well, the checks on balance and power, a direct barb, which got the Democrats in the room, Patrick, on their feet clapping like seals.
Yeah, and it's worth noting that Downing Street wrote that speech alongside the royal family, alongside King Charles, apparently. And the whole point of this visit, or one of them anyway, we were led to believe, was that this is all about desperately trying to resuscitate what appears to be a largely deceased special relationship. So what do you make of how that will have gone down with the Trump administration there, and whether or not maybe they've got that wrong?
Look, I'm not privy to, at this point, how the administration would be feeling about that. I don't think they'd be strangers to what we heard. One of the last words the King said in Congress there during his speech was talking about how America's words have weight and meaning and the world is watching. Again, I can only assume and conclude that is a direct address to President Trump and his sort of, yes, we know he's brazen, yes, we know he can be, I'd argue, a bully at times, yes, he can be brash, that's just his nature. He was just a few weeks ago talking about wiping out civilization, so that's probably attributed to those kind of comments from the president. The palace has said, they've released a statement, Patrick, they've said the king was deeply honoured to have been invited to be the first British king to give such an address and was greatly touched by the warmth and generosity of the response he received. As Alistair Campbell said, again, I just go back to that, he loved it, he's an arch Remainer, he's a globalist. President Trump, he is an anti-globalist, he's anti-climate change, he's anti-migration, anti-diversity, so it's clear there was a conflict of interest there, and I mean, I much preferred, if I dare say this without being attacked or called a traitor, I much preferred the tone of President Trump's speech, delving deeper into the values and the history of our two nations, as opposed to the kind of sort of modern-day globalist characteristics and attributes about melting ice caps and diversity and multi-faith. I mean, let's talk about multi-faith. This is, in America, this is a Christian nation. You walk through Washington, D.C., you see massive banners draping off government buildings talking about God first. So I'm not too sure how well the Americans, indeed the administration, which is a deeply rooted Christian administration, cares too much about multi-faith diversity. So as I said, I'm not privy to how they're feeling right now, but I can probably imagine how they would be feeling, and you'll probably get that reaction as the days ahead unroll.
We will indeed. And also, look, we don't know what was spoken about behind closed doors as well. We don't know the role that the king is playing behind closed doors, etc. Like I said, there were 13 standing ovations there, so clearly he was doing something right. But later on this evening, we're going to be checking back in with you and our US bureau over there, because we're going to be seeing this new ballroom, aren't we? This is the next event here on the King's trip.
Yes, there's the big the feast, the banquet. So King Charles can celebrate his big speech in Congress, his historic speech, by heading into the East Room just behind me, where they'll be getting well, I don't know what they'll be eating. Beef sandwiches. Gannet, I think, is on the menu for the King. Gannet is a favourite of the King's. They'll have a massive feast in the East Room there. And as is par for the course with President Trump, he is always, regardless of the event or who is in attendance, he'll be very keen to show people the progress on the ballroom. The incident from Saturday night, the shooting at the Hilton Hotel, again emboldened President Trump and the administration as well as kind of justification as to why they need this ballroom, so they could hold events like we're going to see this evening, instead of cramming the King and Queen and the British delegation into what is a relatively modestly sized room, the East Room, for a state banquet. He would much prefer, of course, President Trump, to welcome them into a massive ballroom where he can really show off sort of the decadence of the White House and American hospitality. So yeah, I'm sure President Trump will be keen to give the King a sneak peek of the ballroom and hopefully welcome him back in a few years.
Fantastic, Ben. All right, I look forward to seeing more of your coverage as the day and evening progresses. Ben Leo there is our chief US correspondent. Thank you so much. Look, coming up, the other breaking news this evening.
Thank you. The eyes to the right, 223. The nose to the left, 335. The nose have it, unlock.
Particularly enjoyed the moment Lindsay Hoyle reached adolescence there, but Labour MPs have voted to prevent the Prime Minister being investigated over allegations that he misled Parliament, only after he ordered them to back him. Is he behaving a bit like a dictator? But before that, it's emerged today that the terrorist that we at GB News stopped from being released was actually recalled to prison previously over fears that he had a secret mobile phone, a 9/11 terror book, and had helped one of his friends go to Pakistan to join the Taliban. All of that and more next.
I'm Michelle Dewberry. This is Jubes & Co. with you.
Hello everyone, Patrick Christys here at GB News,
Britain's news channel.
Access the stories that matter to you. Take the GB News family with you on any device. And as long as you have an internet connection, tune in to GB News, anywhere on the planet or beyond. GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Westminster, the ultimate clique.
And you're fighting like rats in a sack.
But here on the Camilla Tominey Show, we ask the questions the establishment media is too scared to ask.
OK, let me ask you a straight question, because I know you're a straight-talking politician.
Whether it's net zero, illegal immigration or law and order, nothing is off limits.
You had the power then.
Yeah, as
and now you've lost it.
That's the Camilla Tominey Show, a politics show that's fearless.
But no, let me finish my question if you don't mind, because it is my show.
Sundays at 9:30, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
5 hosts, 5 opinions, 5 fearless debates, 5 unfiltered takes on the day's news.
5 reasons not to be anywhere else on Saturday night.
This is the Saturday 5. You got me good there. Britain's biggest Saturday night TV show.
It's not a bad brand.
Yeah. Uncensored.
Very, very racy tonight.
On the unpredictable.
What did she say? Can you translate it for us?
And always entertaining.
And how can a country go from being led by William Wallace to Saturday nights from 6 p.m. only on GB News, the People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
You're going to want to stay tuned, trust me.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world. Am I allowed to talk now? No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
In fact, has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints. How many fingers have I got up?
About 10.
So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m. only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Breaking news, live updates, stories that matter.
From the heart of the GB newsroom to every corner of Britain, with our team of dedicated journalists across the UK.
GB News bulletins are there to deliver the latest news that matters to you.
Bulletins on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Akweer, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, though.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to Patrick Christys Tonight. So, a convicted terrorist who was set to be released from prison until an intervention by us here at GB News on this show had previously been recalled to prison over fears he possessed a book about 9/11. He was using a secret mobile phone. Zahid Iqbal was jailed alongside 3 other jihadis in 2013 for plotting to blow up a British Army base in Luton. Well, in January this year, he was actually cleared for release, despite 2 experts flagging concerns. It was only when we highlighted this jaw-dropping decision that the Shadow Home Secretary Chris Philp wrote to David Lammy urging him to intervene. Iqbal will now face a new parole hearing, but today GB News learnt that Al-Qaeda-inspired Iqbal was recalled to prison after being released previously back in 2021. Police monitoring his laptop discovered he was using a secret mobile phone. He deleted his call history. He was accused of having a book about 9/11, although this allegation was not pursued because of a lack of evidence. And in documents that we've come into possession of, they said that they could not say that he was definitely not talking to other extremists, but stressed that he'd shown no other radical views. That document also revealed that Iqbal assisted one of his co-accused to travel to Pakistan with a view to being trained to support the Taliban. He was also investigated for acquiring a firearm and saved £10,000 in cash, which he proposed donating to the Taliban or their supporters. And apparently he'd been watching porn as well, which is banned if you're on licence. Joining us now to discuss this is Roger Macmillan, a terrorism and security expert. Now, Roger, we're a bit tight for time here, sorry, because we were taking the King's speech. But look, what do you make of this evidence that's come to light here about this chap?
I mean, this is bizarre. This is my position on this is straightforward. Individuals who have been convicted of ideological motivated terrorism with operational links to the likes of Al-Qaeda under no circumstances should be released, and they should not be walking free in these streets.
But, I mean, he was already released once, and we saw how that went, and now this information has just come to light about the reasons why they actually recalled him, which makes the parole board's decision even more baffling.
Absolutely. I mean, there are people who have been close to him, who have said, his offender manager and I think it's community venom, who also said this man must not be released. And why the parole board has taken this decision is really beyond me.
Yeah, again, look, we make no excuses for continuing to highlight this. Look, Roger, I am very sorry that we're so squeezed. We've had a lot of breaking news, but I would love to get you back on at some point. It's Roger McMillan there, terrorism and security expert. Look, if it wasn't for GB News, you wouldn't have known that this guy got parole, and now you wouldn't know the reasons why he was recalled the first time round, and it makes it incredibly baffling. But anyway, yeah, look, we're going to get into the big news of the day when we come back. Is Keir Starmer turning into a dictator, whipping his MPs to make sure he doesn't face any scrutiny? Plus, the Iranian embassy in London has called on Iranians to die for the regime. And, of course, the King's speech again.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boiler sponsors the weather on GB News.
Hello, very good evening to you. This is your GB News weather forecast from the Met Office. As we go through the next 24 hours, it's going to be mostly dry, a bit chilly tonight, but temperatures are really rising as we go through the day tomorrow. That's because we have a largely settled picture with high pressure firmly in control. Worth noting, though, away from that high pressure, some strong gusty winds towards the south and southwest. They're going to be picking up through the next 24 hours. And also, we will have some bursts of rain as we go overnight across parts of, well, southern coastal areas of Devon and also the tip of Cornwall. Elsewhere, a dry picture, largely clear skies, and it's under those clear skies temperatures are going to drop a little bit lower than last night. As a result, a touch of frost in prone spots can't be ruled out. Also, a few pockets of mist and fog. But once the sun comes up, any mist and fog will quickly clear, as will any low cloud that could develop in a few spots overnight. And temperatures will rise as well. So although it could be a bit chilly first thing, well, quite quickly it's going to feel pleasantly warm in that sunshine. Lots of fine sunny weather across Scotland, Northern Ireland and the bulk of England and Wales all the way through tomorrow. We do just need to watch out for a bit of showery rain pushing into parts of the southwest. It doesn't look like it'll affect many places, but particularly across some parts of Cornwall could just be a bit cloudier and a little bit wet at times. Otherwise, it's almost wall-to-wall blue sky across the bulk of the country, and with all that sunshine, unsurprisingly, it's going to feel pretty warm indeed. Temperatures a bit higher than today, mid to high teens quite widely, low 20s towards the south, though here we do have those strong gusty winds which will make it feel a little bit fresher. On Thursday, there's a bit more cloud, a bit more rain across parts of southwest England, perhaps southwest Wales, and some of that will feed across the Republic of Ireland and later Northern Ireland. Elsewhere, though, another largely sunny day, and temperatures will be even higher than tomorrow, more widely getting into the high teens or low 20s. More fine weather on Friday, but turning changeable by the bank holiday weekend. Bye-bye.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boiler sponsors the weather on GB News.
It's the final week to see how you could win our biggest prize of the year so far. You could be driving away with your very own 4-berth camper van. This Benny Van 122 could give you the perfect getaway this year. We'll also give you an incredible £25,000 in tax-free cash. Lines close on the 1st of May, so make sure you don't miss out. For another chance to win a camper van and cash, text prize to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message, or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB20 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 1st of May. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation,
no,
because the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Breaking news, live updates, stories that matter.
From the heart of the GB newsroom to every corner of Britain, with our team of dedicated journalists across the UK.
GB News bulletins are there to deliver the latest news that matters to you.
Bulletins on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's Political Podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's Political Podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
As soon as it hits 11 and the headlines come in,
Late Edition brings you the breaking news from all the front pages.
because the news is going to happen.
So get a head start today.
Patrick Christys tonight, Late Edition.
Alex Armstrong tonight, Late Edition. From 11 o'clock every night.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
It's 10 p.m. I'm Patrick Christys. Tonight.
Thank you. The ayes to the right, 223. The noes to the left, 335. The noes have it, the noes have it. Unlock!
Gutless, cowardly Labour MPs save Starmer's skin, but...
We are in an awkward position.
I am yet to be convinced that he has definitively not misled the House.
When you're under attack like this, you don't run from the attack.
Like the public, I feel let down, disappointed, and I am angry.
At least some of his own MPs slagged him off, and...
I'd rather be on the side of Peter Mandelson, of convicted paedophile Jeffrey Epstein, of Morgan McSweeney and Matthew Doyle, on the side of the man who sacked Sir Chris Wormald, sacked Sir Ollie Robbins, Sue Gray. Is that what they came to Parliament for?
The rest of them were skewered by Kemi. Plus...
Do you think the Prime Minister's statement that full due process was followed is a fair description of what happened in Mandelson's case?
I'm going to dodge. I'm really sorry.
Well, why is he allowed to dodge it? But, I mean, he was basically thrown under the bus by another civil servant. But, of course, the breaking news in the last hour, the King has addressed Congress.
I pray with all my heart that our alliance will continue to defend our shared values with our partners in Europe and the Commonwealth and across the world.
Well, we're going to go live to GB News royal correspondent Cameron Walker in Washington, D.C. for the latest. The King's speech is making a lot of tomorrow's newspaper front pages, and it was very, very controversial. The I go with King tells Congress America and the UK must reconcile, but there was a line there from the King, you know, diversity is our greatest strength. He spoke about the environment, he spoke about America's words mattering, about the need for international law, and I'm not really sure how well that will have gone down with the Trump administration. You can tell it was written alongside Downing Street. But also tonight... Yeah, but this is ridiculous. Iran's embassy in Britain calls for Iranians to die for the regime. On my panel tonight, we have got Tory MP Esther McVeigh, GB News contributor Will Kingston, and GB News' senior political commentator Nigel Nelson. There he is. And what's going on here?
Charles, look, young Charles. He's so cute.
OK, get ready, Britain. Here we go. It's more Keir Starlin than Keir Starmer. Next.
Very good evening to you from the newsroom. The top story tonight at 10. The King has delivered a historic address at the US Congress, telling politicians the partnership between the UK and America is more important than it has ever been. He called it a great honour to speak at Capitol Hill, but warned it comes at a great time of conflict across the world. Lawmakers gave him a standing ovation as he quoted Donald Trump on the unbreakable bond between the two nations.
As President Trump himself observed during his state visit to Britain last autumn, the bond of kinship and identity between America and the United Kingdom is priceless and eternal. It is irreplaceable and unbreakable.
Well, the visit continues in New York on Wednesday with a 9/11 commemoration before further engagements the rest of the week in Virginia. Here, MPs have voted against launching an inquiry into Sir Keir Starmer over the Mandelson row. The Commons rejected the motion by 335 votes to 223, a majority of 111. The proposal, led by the Conservatives' Kemi Badenoch, claimed that the Prime Minister misled Parliament. Ministers, though, rejected that, insisting due process was followed. Despite the result, though, the political row is expected to continue. MPs are warning that there are significant gaps in the UK's defence plans, aid plans rather. A cross-party committee says the government has only set out a skeleton strategy for a reduced budget. They're now calling for greater transparency and clearer evidence of how aid will deliver results. The UK government is cutting aid spending to fund increased defence investment, but MPs say ministers must now do more to explain the benefits both globally and here at home. In other news tonight, Iran's ambassador to the UK has been summoned by the Foreign Office over what ministers have described as unacceptable and inflammatory comments. Officials say the message posted online appeared to encourage expats to become martyrs. The UK government has condemned the post, calling it completely inappropriate. The move marks a further escalation in tensions. And counter-terror police are investigating a suspected arson attack on a memorial wall in North London. The fire broke out in the early hours of Monday in Golders Green, close to a Jewish centre. The wall commemorates Iranians killed during protests against the regime. Officers say the investigation is being led by counter-terror specialists, although it's not currently being treated as a terror incident. The wall itself was not damaged and no arrests have been made so far. Those are the latest headlines for now. I'll be back with you tomorrow morning for all the top stories. Now, though, it's back to Patrick.
Yeah, welcome back. Look, shortly we're going to be going live to America to get that reaction from King Charles's speech in Congress. You know, some of the bits of it that really drew the eye were, yeah, he spoke about our shared relationship, but also about diversity being the greatest strength, the environment, the melting ice caps, that words matter, the importance of funding the Ukraine war, and also, as well, international law. Deeply controversial speech, very political speech as well. We're going to be seeing whether or not that's gone down well with the Trump administration, whether or not it was too political, and if Keir Starmer's Downing Street team had too much of a hand in it. We'll discuss that. It's all over the front pages. But before that, today, Keir Starmer really showed himself to be a modern dictator. He enforced a 3-line whip on his MPs to vote against him being investigated by the Privileges Committee. He was accused of misleading the House of Commons over these comments.
Full due process was followed during this appointment, as it is with all ambassadors. He said, "I can say with certainty it was never put to me in that way. No pressure existed whatsoever in relation to this case."
But come on. Surely everyone knows those statements aren't true.
I was presented with a decision. There was no and told to get on with it.
Throughout January, honestly, my office, the Foreign Secretary's office, were under constant pressure.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, Keir Starmer told his MPs to vote against him facing the music. I mean, Boris Johnson didn't do that over Partygate. You know, he manned up. He faced the music. Keir Starmer is behaving like a man with a lot to hide. He's making his MPs humiliate themselves by being on the side of Mandelson and Epstein instead of truth and decency. That's how Kemi Badenoch sees it.
I know it is very difficult for Labour MPs to walk through the lobby with other parties. But let me be clear what they are saying if they vote against this motion. Would they rather be on the side of Peter Mandelson, of convicted paedophile Jeffrey Epstein, of Morgan McSweeney and Matthew Doyle, on the side of the man who sacked Sir Chris Wormald, sacked Sir Ollie Robbins, Sue Gray? Is that what they came to Parliament for?
Yeah, and it's not the first time that Starmer's behaved like a dictator. He sacked 2 chiefs of staff, or allowed them to resign, Sue Gray and Morgan McSweeney. 4 directors of communications have been booted out, Matthew Doyle, Steph Driver, James Lyons and Tim Allen. His director of strategy, yeah, he did have one, Paul Ovenden, went. And he sacked the head of the civil service, Chris Warmold, and Sir Ollie Robbins, the top civil servant in the Foreign Office. I mean, classic dictator move, this. Purge your underlings to save your own skin and cover up for your mistakes. He's removed the whip from MPs over the scrapping of the 2-child benefit cap, welfare reforms and the farmers' death tax, and U-turned on all of those things. So I suppose that makes him a hopeless dictator, doesn't it? He's taken glee in the locking up of people for tweets and told judges to lock them up even more for a long time.
Over 400 people now have been arrested, 100 have been charged, some in relation to online activity, and a number of them are already in court. And I'm now expecting substantive sentencing before the end of this week. That should send a very powerful message to anybody involved, either directly or online, that you are likely to be dealt with within a week.
Bit dictatory, that. He's banned smoking and vaping for anyone born after the 1st of January 2009. There you go, your civil liberties. Overseen a huge rollout of facial recognition technology that might genuinely be coming to your village, not even a city. He wanted to postpone many of the local elections. He's ramped up the cost of private schools so that parents have to put their kids at the mercy of state education. And today, he seems to want to control what you do with your own property. He's considering a 1-year rent freeze, controlling what you can charge to rent out your own home. That's after he's already massively curtailed your power to evict tenants. Again, a classic dictator move. You know, property is theft after all, isn't it? Like all good dictators, it's one rule for him and one rule for everybody else.
Now, this wound, this lack of trust, can only be healed by actions, not words.
Yeah, there you go. He and his wife took a load of freebies from Lord Wahid Ali after it emerged that he was going to be, you know, bringing integrity and decency back to politics. His son even got free range of Wahid Ali's £15 million London penthouse. Starmer has accepted more than £107,000 in gifts, benefits and hospitality between December 2019 and July 2024, more than any other MP. He's got freebies to the football, freebies to see Taylor Swift. Starmer has reportedly racked up more air miles than any other Prime Minister this century, all the while raising more taxes than any other Prime Minister in modern history. So while you're holidaying in Morecambe now, he's off to Malta, and we all know how he feels about Mauritius. It's been jobs for the boys, good old-fashioned cronyism. That's what got us into this Mandelson mess to begin with. His old mate, Lord Hermer, was made a Lord, then made Attorney General, despite helping to wrongfully prosecute British troops. And then, of course, we've got Starmer's utter disdain for answering questions at PMQs.
Prime Minister, it's Prime Minister's questions. We've got to concentrate.
It's non-stop. He behaves like a leader of a Latin American, African or Soviet country, not Great Britain. And we've seen it again today, whipping his MPs so he doesn't have to face the consequences of his own actions. It's more Keir Stalin than Keir Starmer. Let's get the views of my panel on this tonight. I've got Tory MP Esther McVeigh, GB News contributor Will Kingston and GB News' senior political commentator Nigel Nelson. Look, Esther, I'll start with you, because you were in the chamber today, right? Well, what do you make of what we've seen today with those Labour MPs voting so that their own gaffer doesn't have to face their music?
I think Starmer's made a big mistake making this a whipped vote. It wasn't political. This is something which is a discipline issue, a House issue. He's bred more unhappiness within his own party. I think he's out. His days are numbered, but now it's like death by 1,000 cuts. And I think his cowardice by not facing the music, he's losing the respect of his own party. And he's revealed a lot about himself, that he's thin-skinned, that he's vain. I think he could have got ahead of the problem by saying, do you know what? I didn't do anything wrong. Because now all we're talking about is Mandelson, we're taking up hours and hours of time. I can't govern the country. We can't get through this in Parliament. So do you know what? I am going to refer myself to the Privilege Committee because I've got nothing to hide. Get ahead of it. I think he could have made a sort of more of a moral stance on that. I think people would have had more respect for him. But no, he didn't. And he's now doing scorched earth policy, chucking civil servant, advisor and now all of his MPs under the bus.
Yeah, Will, I mean, there is a catalogue of pretty totalitarian behaviour by this guy.
Yeah, it's very obvious he has an authoritarian instinct. We've known that since the purge of the Labor Party after he became leader. But it shouldn't be surprising, Patrick, because every left-wing leader around the world has an authoritarian instinct in 2026. It is the thread that connects everyone from Kamala Harris to Albanese to Carney to Keir Starmer, in that the left in today's day and age believe that they know how you should live your life better than you do. And partially the result, or that is a result of the right not being particularly good on civil liberties and individual freedoms themselves anymore. Like, I'd love to hear Farage, I'd love to hear Kemi Badenoch, I'd love to hear Restore, all of them talking more about individual freedoms and civil liberties. But we don't hear that as much from modern right-wing parties, and so the left can get away with all of this authoritarian nonsense.
Do you think he's behaving like a dictator here, especially with this three-line whip?
No, I don't. I mean, I agree with Esther, and as I've said before, I think he should have offered a free vote on this particular issue because it's a parliamentary matter, and that's the way you do these things. In your kind of litany of things that actually label him a dictator, some of those I disagree with. I think the freebies was a very bad look during the election. I think it was a major mistake to try and take away the winter fuel allowance. What that did do was, there was going to be a U-turn anyway on that one. There was no way that was going to get through. That was going to get through in the long term. What that did was set up a narrative that meant other things didn't work. Brenda's Reform Act is great. I think that it's a really good thing to have. Employment rights.
Capping rent.
Well, I mean that's not in the Renters Reform Act. That would be a different thing. But the idea of no fault evictions, I think, is really important. The Employment Rights Act.
So someone can just squat in your house.
How do you work that out?
Well, if you own the property and you want to evict your tenant for whatever reason that might be, for your own personal reasons, you want to get your property back, you want to...
If you want your property back, then there's no problem. That will be exactly the same system as you have now.
So what's the point of no-fault evictions then?
So a landlord can't just throw somebody out without good reason.
That's your property, Nigel. You can do whatever you want.
Well, hang on. Not even,
it wasn't like that
without good reason.
It was sort of no fault, so you don't have to blame each other, and you could come to a decision to get somebody out because it wasn't working or they weren't adhering to certain things because you own the property. No, I think the renters reform is a disaster, actually, and that's why you're seeing loads of people coming out of the renting market. But if there are less places for people to rent and cost of renting...
You can still take them to court if they're behaving badly. You can still do that.
Months and months.
Well, but better that than actually just chucking people onto the street.
They never did that.
Well,
I think this
is
a myth.
It's control. The wider point here is of control, state control, Starmer control over your life. Obviously, today's example is literally whipping his MPs on what should have been a free vote, but we've got a catalogue of other things there, haven't we?
Well, I mean, it depends where you get to, and I've mentioned the ones I actually disagreed with. I think he was right, for instance, on the farming tax. I think he was right.
No!
I think he was right to to charge VAT on private school fees.
Another mistake.
There's no reason why the taxpayer should subsidise somebody else's choice of education.
No, but that hasn't worked out, has it? All said and done. What a disaster! Like in my area, Alderley Edge School for Girls is now going to close, so they've got to find 400 places in its state system, which they can't. It was ideological, vitriolic, nasty policy because they didn't like people having choice in the education system.
I'll drag us out of the minutiae. The reason why he has to resort to these sorts of authoritarian measures is because there is no positive vision for the country. And that is the fundamental problem with the Starmer regime, is that there's never been a go for growth strategy. There's never been a thought of where do we want to take this country country for the next 10 years. And that is the lesson that we have to put forward going forward, is this era of wet, spineless, bureaucratic nothings as PM has to stop.
And you're right, and the Mandelson issue is what people have seized upon because they don't like Starmer as Prime Minister or any of his policies. So they've seized on this, but actually people just want him out for everything else he's got wrong.
But, you know, look, Boris Johnson, in the end, obviously faced the Privileges Committee and what happened. But, you know, Keir Starmer's not even got the bottle to do that. And it looks like, you know... For
Boris Johnson didn't choose to. I mean, there's some myths around the end of Boris Johnson that there was never a vote about sending him there. It went through on the nod in the House.
Yeah, because his MP said, you must face the music. Said that because we, I would say, show a bit more moral compass than the Labour MPs are doing.
But it wasn't Boris's choice.
A little bit more guts than the Labour MPs.
And Boris then tried to make MPs abstain if it ever came to a vote. So Boris didn't go willingly to the committee. And I don't see any reason if Keir Starmer says, look, I haven't done anything wrong. I keep explaining myself why I've not misled Parliament. Why then walk into the committee? I mean, apart from anything else, it's a complete waste of time. Today was a waste of parliamentary time.
Well, I don't know if it was really, because it cuts to the core of integrity and who's leading your country and the moral compass of them and their believability and whether or not they are truthful. I mean, you had there the former Under-Secretary to the Foreign Office who was saying that he was asked point blank, was due process followed? And he said, oh, I'm going to dodge that question.
Yeah, but the reason he dodged it... Hang on, look, Patrick, the reason he dodged the question is he was not going to make a judgment on the Prime Minister as a former civil servant. He was being asked, do you think that he followed due process? He avoided that question very much in the civil service way.
He was surprised, as the person who's in charge of all diplomatic networks, who should have had a say in what went on. Starmer came to him with the decision if that's what they're going to do, and he was cut out of the process. So was he under pressure? Was he forced through? Did Starmer push his man on? The answer is yes.
It's going to look a little bit ridiculous, just finally, it's going to look a little bit ridiculous, I think, when the Labour MPs have had the opportunity to basically send him to the Privileges Committee today, when in a few weeks' time, a couple of weeks' time, if that, actually, it's I think, quite likely that they're going to try to vote to remove him anyway. So they've backed him today, and then they're just going to turn around in a week or two's time and go, actually, bye.
Yeah, well, that's exactly right. I think they missed a political opportunity today. I think it actually could have positioned them quite nicely with a Rayner or a Miliband in about a month's time, but they didn't take that opportunity. And now they are just known as we are the same as everyone else, which is particularly bad for the Labor Party because they came in saying we're going to do things differently, and they haven't.
And the reason they didn't, they see that they've got their local elections here and they thought we can't do right for wrong. Let's pretend it's not happening and go into our local elections, whereas if they weren't there, they might well have got rid of him.
I'm not saying that bit won't go badly, by the way.
It's going to go really badly.
Well, we'll see. We'll see what happens. All right, look, there's loads more to cram in tonight. Of course, we are going to be dissecting the King's speech in Congress, an incredibly controversial speech. Be interesting to see what the front pages make of it, and we're going to be taking you live to our US, to our royal correspondent who's in the US anyway, because there's this big feast, the banquet tonight. But before that, it's time for the Great British Giveaway. Here's how you can be in it to win it.
There's just 3 days left to see how to win our biggest prize of the year so far, as you could drive away in this brand new Benivan 122 camper van. This brand new 2026 model comfortably sleeps 4 with its pop-up bunks and comes complete with kitchen, bathroom and spacious living area. You can even drive it on your existing driving licence. And that's not all, as you'll also get an incredible £25,000 in tax-free cash to spend on anything you like this year. You have to hurry, as lines close at 4 p.m. on Friday. For another chance to win a camper van and cash, text prize to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message, or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge, or post your name and number to GB20 PO Box 8690, Derby DE1 9TT. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 1st of May. The winner may be contacted live after all entry routes have closed. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Well, coming up, we've got all of tomorrow's newspaper front pages. The breaking news on the front of tomorrow's Daily Mail is Labour's revolt over Starmer's sleaze cover-up. That is apparently because 50 of them abstained from the vote today. And the King's speech to Congress is also splashing on the Mail's front page. We're going to go live to GB News Royal correspondent Cameron Walker in Washington, D.C. They are going to be going to the banquet shortly. Should the King have gone on about diversity and melting ice caps, do we think, in front of the Trump administration? But before that, I mean, this is terrifying, although deeply predictable. Tehran's Iranian embassy in London has called on Iranians in Britain to rise up and die for the regime. Should we be worried? Well, yeah, that's next.
Do you trust what you're being told? Good, because neither do I.
Those are just facts.
I'm Alex Armstrong, and on my show, we'll expose the spin.
Well, I want to answer that, because you didn't let me last time, because you always speak over me.
The broken promises.
To deny that is denying the truth.
And the hypocrisy.
Needs to stop. You think we can allow?
Politics, policy, parliament. Nothing is off limits. No sugarcoating, no fear of offence, just the truth laid bare. Tune in every Saturday and Sunday at 9 p.m. for Alex Armstrong Tonight, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
I'm Michael Portillo. This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
I think it's true to say that probably more books have been written about Queen Elizabeth II than any other royal, probably more books than any other woman. And I think Hugo Vickers' latest book, 600 pages, which give us a very personal insight into her life. What is there left for Anna Key to tell us, do you think?
Well, I know it's true, but she's going to have the key to the archives. She's going to be able to go through personal letters and thousands of documents that none of us have been able to see. I mean, I know our esteemed colleague Robert Hardman, as well as Hugo, have had some access. And you would think, actually, I thought Robert's was the most authoritative biography there could be, but he didn't have complete access in the way that Anna will. I mean, I don't really envy her the job. I don't know if you do, but it's going to take years, isn't it?
It is. I mean, do we know, did the Queen keep a diary, rather like Queen Victoria did? But most of her papers were destroyed, weren't they? So, I mean, is there going to be a very personal record from the Queen herself that she'll have access to?
I suspect that she will remain in death almost as much of an enigma as she did in life. I understand she did keep a diary, I think pretty religiously, I think most days. But the word is that it was pretty anodyne. It was, you know, I met so-and-so, I did this, not her personal feelings about, I know, meeting President Trump or whatever. So I don't know if we're going to get any great insights. But there will be personal stuff and there will be fascination. I mean, she was just there, wasn't she, for all of us through all of our lives. And if there are any secrets, then we will want to know about them. And I'm sure Anna Key will find them.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Join me, Nana Akwe, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Yeah, welcome back to Patrick Christys Tonight. Look, very shortly, all of tomorrow's newspaper front pages and, of course, that reaction to the King's speech in Congress. First, though, well, there's a chilling message that sparked massive national security concerns. Tehran's Iranian embassy in London has called on Iranians in the UK to sacrifice their lives for the regime. In a social media post written in Farsi, consulate officials urged proud Iranian compatriots residing in Britain to register for their Jan Fada, or sacrificing their life, scheme. They've got a scheme for it. They asked for all brave and noble children of Iran with a desire for the people's defence of the land of Iran to come forward in a display of solidarity, loyalty and national zeal. They added, let us all, to a man, give our bodies to be slain, for it's better than giving our country to the enemy. Even more worryingly, the post has been viewed thousands of times and received nearly 400 love heart reactions. I mean, that should be an easily arrestable offence, I would have thought. But this afternoon, the Foreign Office confirmed that the Iranian ambassador has been summoned by Middle East Minister Hamish Faulkner, we'll sort him out, in response to the social media post. Counter-terror police are currently investigating Iranian links to several attacks at Jewish sites across London in recent weeks. Look, I'm joined now by the journalist Mani Basharzad. He's an Iranian journalist, I should say. Thank you very much for joining us this evening. So, for the avoidance of doubt here, are we misinterpreting this? What is the Iranian embassy calling on Iranians in Britain to do here, do you think?
The reality is the UK has become a recruiting ground for the Islamic regime to recruit terrorists. What that channel, there's a Telegram channel of the UK embassy in this country, which I don't know why that embassy exists. The channel has more than 14,000 subscribers. And the message that we saw had more than 8,000 views the last time I checked. The exact thing that what it was saying was, let us all, one and all, give our lives in a battle. And I'm Iranian. I know that language. Some people try to whitewash that, to say, no, he's not saying let's give our lives. Literally, the name of the project is Jan Fada. Jan means life. Fada means sacrificing your life. If the people in that embassy are so excited to give their lives for the Islamic terrorist regime in Tehran, we can do them a favor and send them back to that country. But that's not what this government has been doing. But there's something deeper to that. It's not about Iran. It's about the Islamic Revolution. As the name IRGC says, it's not about Iran, it's Islamic Revolutionary Guard. And as Khomeini, the founding father of the order, which is ruling in Iran, said, the Islamic Revolution knows no borders. And this should be a call for people in this country, that when they're saying they're recruiting people, it doesn't mean they're recruiting people to go in Iran and fight Israel and America. They mean they're recruiting people here, because they don't believe in the idea of nation-state. Nation-state is a conservative, modern idea. The idea that they believe is ummah. And because they believe in that, because they believe in that theocracy, Islamic revolution knows no borders.
So we've had Keir Starmer's line on this war was always, this is not our war. We are not involved in this war. We had no role to play in this war. That's been his attempt at appeasement. And the response from that by the Iranian regime in Britain has been die for the Iranian regime to people in Britain.
The real question is why they have the courage to do that. Why they did that? Because they can. Why they can? Because they're allowed. Because what they have seen from Germans, what they have seen from the UK government, what they have seen from Europe has been appeasement. They are still looking for a diplomatic solution with a government which is basically ruled by IRGC, ruled by a terrorist group based on EU, not even the United States. The EU knows that the IRGC is a terrorist group based on the law. And that group, based on any source that you have, they are running Iran. That's why negotiations always fails. Because IRGC knows with any case of negotiations, the United States want the missile program to end and the nuclear program to end. With those two programs ending, there would be no IRGC. Vahidi and Ghalibaf are running the country, and both of them are the heads of IRGC.
Is this a call to maybe launch attacks here in Britain? Is this what we're seeing? Should the people of Britain be worried, or is this more a call for people who are in Britain to go to Iran and fight and die over there?
I would say let's look back to history. What has happened in the last 5 years? The Director General of MI5 said in the Parliament from the year 2022 to 2025, more than 20 plot attacks by the Islamic regime had been planned in the UK. They attacked the memorial for the people who died in the revolution of the recent years in North London. They attacked the Iranian journalists a couple of years ago. They attacked so many news media's opposition channels in the recent months. Manoto and Iran International, the best cases of that. So I wouldn't say it's a risk. I'm saying it is happening right now.
Can you imagine if the French embassy had just said this, by the way? Like, seriously, because that is what we're dealing with here. If the French embassy had just said, you know, basically rise up and die for France to, like, French people here in Britain, we'd be like, what the heck is that all about? The Germans had done it, the Spanish had done it, the Portuguese had done it, someone like that who's got an embassy here. The Iranians have just done this now in Britain and said it, and we just let them do it. We've not prescribed the IRGC.
And it's worse than that. If you look at the educational text that they teach children in the stated schools in Iran, basically, the best thing that you can do for God to love you, based on the religious texts they teach, is to die for Allah, to give your life, to sacrifice your life, not contributing to science, not contributing to society, pay tax, have a business, but to die for Allah. And this is another important case. You have asylum seekers that they say their life is in danger in Iran. They come here and they protest in favor of Islamic Republic.
Yeah.
There has been, all the evidence is in the internet. Why they are here?
Yeah. Well, maybe it's because of this particular statement, and who knows what could happen. But look, I always really appreciate you coming on. Thank you very much. I know it takes extreme bravery as well, given everything that we've just been speaking about, for you to stick your head above the parapet and come and say things like this. So all power to you, my friend. That is, of course, Mani Basharzad there, who is an Iranian journalist. Look, a spokesperson for the Iranian embassy in London said Iranians around the world have always cared deeply about their homeland and the protection of the territorial integrity, and they always will. The Jam Fada platform is intended for all Iranians who wish to support and defend their country, and it does not promote any form of hostility. Any claims or assumptions to the contrary are simply unfounded. Such biased judgments are made hastily and without proper understanding. Well, there you go. OK. Look, coming up, we're going to get you all of tomorrow's newspaper front pages today. Breaking on the front of the Telegraph, Starmer offers to bring back Rayner, and the King's speech to Congress is also splashing on the Telegraph's front page. We're going to go live to Washington, D.C. The King and Queen are getting ready now to attend that state banquet. Cameron Walker will be there for us. Don't go anywhere.
I forecast a perfect holiday in the sun.
Weather looking good then?
For sure, and no worries about our travel insurance.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Plenty of fine weather across Europe at the moment. Certainly sunny skies expected in Italy next few days. Very warm in France, but for Iberia, a lot of rain to come. Some heavy downpours across Portugal, central and western parts of Spain on Wednesday. Drier in the east of Spain for Barcelona. Some of that rain, though, reaching western parts of France. And ahead of that, temperatures peaking in the mid to high 20s. Italy seeing sunny skies, but Greece turning a little cooler over the next few days with some showers around.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Hello, very good evening to you. This is your GB News weather forecast from the Met Office. As we go through the next 24 hours, it's going to be mostly dry, a bit chilly tonight, but temperatures are really rising as we go through the day tomorrow. That's because we have a largely settled picture with high pressure firmly in control. Worth noting, though, away from that high pressure, some strong gusty winds towards the south and southwest. They're going to be picking up through the next 24 hours. And also, we will have some bursts of rain as we go overnight across parts of, well, southern coastal areas of Devon and also the tip of Cornwall. Elsewhere, a dry picture, largely clear skies, and it's under those clear skies temperatures are going to drop a little bit lower than last night. As a result, a touch of frost in prone spots can't be ruled out. Also, a few pockets of mist and fog. But once the sun comes up, any mist and fog will quickly clear, as will any low cloud that could develop in a few spots overnight, and temperatures will rise as well. So although it could be a bit chilly first thing, well, quite quickly it's going to feel pleasantly warm in that sunshine. Lots of fine sunny weather across Scotland, Northern Ireland and the bulk of England and Wales all the way through tomorrow. We do just need to watch out for a bit of showery rain pushing into parts of the southwest. It doesn't look like it'll affect many places, but particularly across some parts of Cornwall could just be a bit cloudier and a little bit wet at times. Otherwise, it's almost wall-to-wall blue sky across the bulk of the country, and with all that sunshine, unsurprisingly, it's going to feel pretty warm indeed. Temperatures a bit higher than today, mid to high teens quite widely, low 20s towards the south, though here we do have those strong gusty winds which will make it feel a little bit fresher. On Thursday, there's a bit more cloud, a bit more rain across parts of southwest England, perhaps southwest Wales, and some of that will feed across the Republic of Ireland and later Northern Ireland. Elsewhere, though, another largely sunny day, and temperatures will be even higher than tomorrow, more widely getting into the high teens or low 20s. More fine weather on Friday, but turning changeable by the bank holiday weekend. Bye-bye.
Britain deserves a newsroom that puts the facts and your voice first.
Well, and that's what you get on GB News. Lively debates, lively conversation.
And we're not afraid to hold power to account.
And each other. So join me, Andrew Pierce.
And me, Miriam Gates, for Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 on GB News.
Do you trust what you're being told? good, because neither do I.
Those are just facts.
I'm Alex Armstrong, and on my show, we'll expose the spin.
Well, I want to answer that because you didn't let me last time, because you always speak over me.
The broken promises.
To deny that is denying the truth.
And the hypocrisy.
Needs to stop. You think we can allow?
Politics, policy, parliament. Nothing is off limits. No sugarcoating, no fear of offence, just the truth laid bare. Tune in every Saturday and Sunday at 9 p.m. for Alex Armstrong Tonight, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back. Let's get you all tomorrow's newspaper front pages now. The Guardian: King Charles hails alliance of US and Britain in an age of division. We go to the Daily Mail. Labour revolt over Starmer's sleaze cover-up. 14 MPs side with the Tories, dozens abstain, so they're talking about that. They've also got King delivers a diplomatic masterclass and urges Trump not to abandon NATO. Interesting take that from the Mail. The Telegraph: Starmer offers to bring back Rayner. Their picture story is the King. The iPaper: King tells Congress America and the UK must reconcile. We're going to take you shortly to the White House, by the way, for this. But first, just with my panel, the Daily Telegraph: Starmer offers to bring back Rayner. PM hopes to head off a leadership challenge with an olive branch to his former deputy. Apparently, he offered her a role earlier this month. What do you make of that, Will?
Well, desperation's a cheap cologne, isn't it? And it is all over Keir Starmer at the moment. It won't make any difference. Everyone in Westminster knows that she is angling behind the scenes. She had dinner with Andy Burnham the other day. Figures within the defence establishment have noted that she's been reaching out to them to try and understand those issues better. And she is incredibly popular still with the Labor base. So she is a prime contender for the inevitable challenge that is to follow. So he can offer her whatever he wants, but he's a dead man walking and she knows it.
What do you think about this? Because last week the noise was that she would only come back if he got rid of Shabana Mahmood. But now it looks as though he did genuinely offer her a place about a month ago.
Starmer's figuring out how does he save his own skin, and is she better inside the camp or outside the camp? He heard and found out that she was having meetings with Andy Burnham and they'd be the dream team, and we've also heard that Starmer wants to get rid of Rachel Reeves to save his own skin. Heaven forbid he brings Angela in to be the Chancellor. I mean, I have to say, I agree with you. It's desperate stuff and it's all going to end badly. And the other thing is, if he does bring her back into the cabinet, it actually elevates her status. So should she want to do a challenge to him, she can, because she is back in the cabinet. So, you know, it's either got a bad smell because she's still got the HMRC issues, or he's elevating her status to make her a proper challenger.
Bring back Rayner.
Well, I think the first thing that Angela's got to do is get her tax affairs sorted out. So once that is cleared, I mean, there was some rumours during the week that actually it's going to be within the next couple of weeks anyway. So it may be, this would certainly be a possibility. If he's going to do a cabinet reshuffle after the local elections, yes, I think she would come back if she's clear from the tax thing. He's always said he wants her back in cabinet, so it's likely that she would be given a job. It just depends whose nose gets put out of joint with whatever job she takes from them.
Yeah, exactly. It's what a mess, isn't it? Could we just bring up the Daily Mail's front page, please, if that's all right? Because we'll move on to talk about the King now. King delivers a diplomatic masterclass and urges Trump not to abandon NATO. That's the line from the Daily Mail. I've got a little clip for you now, one of many, of some of the things that the King said in Congress earlier.
In both of our countries, it is the very fact of our vibrant, diverse and free societies that gives us our collective strength.
OK, so what do we make of what the King said in Congress? I mean, by the way, look, his delivery was great. I'm not knocking that. You know, he had almost an impossible diplomatic job to do. Again, that's obvious. And that speech was written in conjunction with Downing Street. So there's aspects of that. But you've got the diversity stuff going on there, the melting of the polar ice caps, international law, NATO, Ukraine. I don't know. What do you make of it? What do you think?
I think it was largely fine. The line, and I imagine it's the same for you, Patrick, the line that sticks in the craw is the diversity is our strength thing, which he says in pretty much every speech. And I would just say on this that we all have an obligation now, whenever this line is trotted out by the King, by the Sadiq Khans of this world, to call it out for the nonsense that it is, because it's been repeated mindlessly as a mantra for over 20 years now without any evidence behind it, without any substantiation. It is just something which you are expected to go along with, as opposed to rationally and calmly saying, well, look, you know, there's been more, in inverted commas, diversity over the last 20 years than ever, and we are more fractured as a society than ever before. So that's the only thing I would say on this is we need to call that out when we hear this nonsense.
I've said it before, I'll say it again. I do wonder what the King thinks seriously about diversity being our greatest strength as he drives down the Edgware Road in London. And if you're not familiar with it, just Google it. On his way to the Mall to get into Buckingham Palace. Does he honestly, seriously, hand on heart, think that that is an example of diversity being our greatest strength when you just see the procession of Arab supermarkets there and all the blokes in the middle of the day smoking shisha, clearly not at work, unless they all happen to work at night, which I find hard to believe, given that they're still there in the evening. You know, all of this stuff. Remarkable, really, if he thinks that diversity really is our greatest strength. But I don't know, Astrid, what do you think of the speech that he made there? You know, is the Mail's line right here? The King delivers a diplomatic masterclass.
I thought he was heavily reading that section as if to say, these aren't my words, but this is the compromise for me to come out here. He went up in my estimation, Charles, when he actually did go out and go on the state visit, because people like Ed Davey were saying he shouldn't, it was a disgrace. It also says to me how important the royal family are, because Starmer's not doing a great job keeping our relationship together with the United States, but he's gone there, and it does show, it doesn't matter who the leaders are, actually the UK and America have got to be good friends. So in that regard, do I sort of forgive him some of these trite comments that he's trotted out? Yes, I do, because the greater issue is he reached out and he should be above all politics and can keep the friendship going.
That's interesting, because if we can get the Guardian's front page on, because the Guardian, Nigel, they do kind of indicate what we're saying here, which is that speech was heavily political, right? Address makes pointed references to Ukraine, climate and NATO.
That's right.
Those
are what I thought were the three things that came out of it. I thought that both Trump's speech and the King's speech were brilliant. I'm not a great fan of President Trump, but I thought he did a good job today.
Some really soaring rhetoric in that Trump speech, actually.
Yeah, I mean, in fact, they both cracked some good jokes. And anyway, the important thing is that there were certain messages to get across. Now, he didn't mention the Falklands, he didn't mention Greenland. That would have caused a real problem. Mentioning Ukraine, hugely important, because we're not sure whether America will keep backing Ukraine. Mentioning NATO, given Trump's words about NATO, that was also hugely important. He just threw it in. He didn't actually make a big deal out of it, but it was important to get that idea across. And what was interesting was how much Congress actually applauded him when he did it.
Yeah, 13 standing ovations, apparently. Apparently the Queen got 2, although I suppose different times, isn't it? You're a bit clappier these days. You only have to see that by going to the theatre. People stand up and clap after every key change. But coming up, we are going to go live to Washington, D.C. as the King and Queen get ready to attend a state banquet. Don't move.
Breaking news, live updates, stories that matter.
From the heart of the GB newsroom to every corner of Britain, with our team of dedicated journalists across the UK.
GB News bulletins are there to deliver the latest news that matters to you. Bulletins on GB News,
the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Martin Daubney, weekdays from 3 p.m.
Now, the Labour Party likes to paint Nigel Farage as a plastic patriot, but cop a load of this. Yes, it's the plasticine Chancellor. And I'm joined by the artist himself now, Wilfred Wood, who's certainly got the nation talking. Wilfred, welcome to the show. A pleasure to have your company. Your mighty work adorns our screens there, and there's a certain uncanny likeness to the Chancellor. Tell us what inspired you to sculpt her.
Well, she's obviously a big sort of public figure, and she's so incredibly dull. And it's quite interesting to try and make an interesting sculpture out of someone so boring.
And you've certainly achieved that. And I believe you have your mighty work with you now. Can we perhaps take a closer look at the plasticine Chancellor? God, she's big, mate.
She's big and heavy. She's really heavy.
What a fine conch she has. Look at the size of that nose.
Well, she has got quite a considerable conch. And obviously, if you're doing a caricature, that's the sort of thing you rather tend to pick on meanly.
And it has to be said, Wilfred, to be fair, you are a satirist. I understand you've made puppets before for Spitting Image. This is your bread and butter, right? And this has certainly got the nation talking. What's the reaction been to your work?
Well, sometimes things go... I make things all the time, all sorts of characters and celebs, and I paint just normal, ordinary people, so to speak. But sometimes things kind of take off a bit. I did one of Liz Truss before and ended up on your channel. So I think you're my biggest fan, so thanks very much.
GB News, the People's Channel.
As soon as it hits 11 and the headlines come in,
The Late Edition brings you the breaking news from all the front pages.
because the news is going to happen.
So get a head start today.
Patrick Christys tonight, Late Edition.
Alex Armstrong tonight, Late Edition. From 11 o'clock every night.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
All right, welcome back. Before I give you the rest of tomorrow's newspaper front pages, we're going to take you straight to Washington because the King and Queen are there for the state visit, and tonight is the state banquet. And our very own Ben Leo joins us again from outside the White House. So, Ben, yeah, what's going to go on tonight, then?
Hello, Patrick. Yeah, of course, the East Room behind me in the White House. It's a pretty modest room. I think President Trump would prefer the ballroom for his state banquet, but not built yet, of course, in construction. Big state dinner tonight. All the dignitaries, the British delegation, lots of members of the cabinet will be there as well. And we should hear again from His Majesty the King, who'll be giving yet another speech, which we'll hear on television when it is streamed live. And of course, it's just going to be a sort of an advancement, a sort of cementing of what we've heard so far, really, from the President and the King themselves earlier today in Congress, of course, and here at the White House, describing and insisting that the UK-US special relationship does still have grounds for the future, despite Keir Starmer and President Trump going head-to-head in recent weeks, because it's a long and enduring relationship that has lasted centuries before. Indeed, America is celebrating just 250 years this year. Actually, it's a birthday that the King joked about earlier today during his speech to Congress. He said that in Britain, when we talk about 250 years, we say just the other day. So a bit of a cheeky dig there towards America's not so long history. But tomorrow, after the banquet, they'll be heading to New York City, the King and the Queen. The couple are expected to arrive in Manhattan in around midday, and the King, as we understand, will be meeting, actually interesting this, off the back of his speech today about multi-faiths and being a defender of all faiths, he'll be meeting New York's first Muslim mayor, Zohan Mamdani, who President Trump would call in his words, a lunatic communist. So they'll be going around to the 9/11 memorial. Of course, this year is the 25th anniversary of 9/11. The Queen, meanwhile, in New York, will be visiting a Winnie the Pooh collection at New York Public Library and gifting a doll for the collection there as well. Lots of street closures expected, traffic delays as well, as you can expect in New York City, which some of the locals have been complaining about. Not everybody in New York City is a keen sort of royalist or monarchist. And then after New York, they'll continue on their travels to Virginia for additional engagements. But today at the state dinner, the banquet, it will be a celebration of what we've seen so far today, which is the UK-US relationship. Lots of band members actually walking behind me. We can hear lots of music, brass bands, military bands as well, plenty of people as well in military uniform, looking very smart indeed, gearing themselves up for what should be an epic evening, Patrick.
I do just want to play one genuinely really comical clip, I think, and this is President Trump talking about, well, how attracted to King Charles, the then Prince Charles, his own mother was.
My mother, I just see it so clearly. She loved, and I told the king this, she loved the royal family, and she loved the Queen. And Anytime the Queen was involved in a ceremony or anything, my mother would be glued to the television and she'd say, "Look, Donald, look how beautiful that is." She really did love the family, but I also remember her saying very clearly, "Charles, look, young Charles, he's so cute." My mother. My mother had a crush.
Well, there you go. So there we are. Well, no doubt Ben, Leo and co will be dissecting that. Ben, I mean, just quickly, we've only got about a minute left. What do you make of that?
Yeah, it was one of a couple of funny jokes today. We had that one about his mother fancying Charles. We had one from the King saying that we share a lot with America apart from the language. The one that I just mentioned a few minutes ago as well. And of course, President Trump saying about they brought the British weather with them as well. So yeah, it was a day full of jokes as well amid the more serious side of it.
Absolutely. Ben, thank you very, very much. And no doubt we'll be hearing a lot more from you over the course of the evening and, of course, the coming days as well. As Ben Leo there, GB News' chief US correspondent. Right, look, in the next hour, we're going to be dissecting all of the newspapers' info. Lots on the King's visit, varied reaction to that. Also, of course, the Labour revolt over Starmer, Angela Rayner back in the cabinet. And apparently, Jet2, the airline, want to do something pretty extreme to some passengers. I'll tell you all about that next.
Warm and cosy, with a chance of zero visibility. Boxed Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Hello, very good evening to you. This is your GB News weather forecast from the Met Office. As we go through the next 24 hours, it's going to be mostly dry, a bit chilly tonight, but temperatures are really rising as we go through the day tomorrow. That's because we have a largely settled picture with high pressure firmly in control. Worth noting though, away from that high pressure, some strong gusty winds towards the south and southwest. They're going to be picking up through the next 24 hours. And also we will have some bursts of rain as we go overnight across parts of, well, southern coastal areas of Devon and also the tip of Cornwall. Elsewhere, a dry picture, largely clear skies, and it's under those clear skies temperatures are going to drop a little bit lower than last night. As a result, a touch of frost in prone spots can't be ruled out. Also, a few pockets of mist and fog. But once the sun comes up, any mist and fog will quickly clear, as will any low cloud that could develop in a few spots overnight, and temperatures will rise as well. So although it could be a bit chilly first thing, well, quite quickly it's going to feel pleasantly warm in that sunshine. Lots of fine sunny weather across Scotland, Northern Ireland and the bulk of England and Wales all the way through tomorrow. We do just need to watch out for a bit of showery rain pushing into parts of the southwest. It doesn't look like it'll affect many places, but particularly across some parts of Cornwall could just be a bit cloudier and a little bit wet at times. Otherwise, it's almost wall-to-wall blue sky across the bulk of the country, and with all that sunshine, unsurprisingly, it's going to feel pretty warm indeed. Temperatures a bit higher than today, mid to high teens quite widely, low 20s towards the south, though here we do have those strong gusty winds which will make it feel a little bit fresher. On Thursday there's a bit more cloud, a bit more rain across parts of southwest England, perhaps southwest Wales, and some of that will feed across the Republic of Ireland and later Northern Ireland. Elsewhere though, another largely sunny day, and temperatures will be even higher than tomorrow, more widely getting into the high teens or low 20s. More fine weather on Friday, but turning changeable by the bank holiday weekend. Bye-bye.
Warm and cosy, with a chance of zero visibility. Boxed Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Well, the newspaper front pages are dissecting the King's speech to Congress. He's going to make another one this evening, by the way, at the banquet. What did you make of it, though? Talks diversity, climate change, NATO, Ukraine. 13 standing ovations in that speech, though. Must have been doing something right. We're also going to be talking about Starmer offering, apparently, to bring Angela Rayner back into cabinet. There was, of course, the Labour MPs today, in the words of the Daily Mail, siding with Mandelson and Epstein. And Jet2 want to do something radical to passengers. That's next.
It's the final week to see how you could win our biggest prize of the year so far. You could be driving away with your very own 4-berth camper van. This Benny Van 122 could give you the perfect getaway this year. We'll also give you an incredible £25,000 in tax-free cash. Lines close on the 1st of May, so make sure you don't miss out. For another chance to win a camper van and cash, text prize to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message, or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge, or post your name and number to GB20 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 1st of May. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's Political Podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's Political Podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
As soon as it hits 11 and the headlines come in,
Late Edition brings you the breaking news from all the front pages.
because the news is going to happen.
So get a head start today.
Patrick Christys tonight, Late Edition.
Alex Armstrong tonight, Late Edition. From 11 o'clock every night.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk now?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
In fact, has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints. How many fingers have I got up? About 10. So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m. only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Westminster, the